Modi in America. As you can see, those are the live visuals of Indian Prime Minister arriving in Washington, D.C. He has finally stepped out of the airport and will be embarking. And you can see the cavalcade is in full preps as far as Prime Minister, his arrival in Washington, D.C. is concerned. Let me also give you a quick recap in terms of what you can expect from Prime Minister Modi's visit to Washington, D.C. You already saw those visuals as Prime Minister Modi was disembarking the aircraft. We just got a glimpse of Prime Minister Modi, in fact, passing by his cavalcade. He's all set to now leave for a very significant, important program which will be focused on skilling for the future. This initiative, of course, aims to prioritize skill development and capacity building for the younger population, especially with the rise in terms of dependency on artificial intelligence. As we've also discussed with our previous guest, what is the significance of such an initiative means a lot for both the countries, not just India, but also the United States and the labor force of the Indian American community that is also a sizable population in the United States. Following this, there will be a private engagement between Prime Minister Modi and the US President Joe Biden. It is going to be day 2 of Prime Minister's state visit, and this will also be marked by several formal bilateral meetings, not just between the President and the Prime Minister, but also between delegations of both the countries. Equally important is going to be Prime Minister Modi's address to the US Congress, which will also be followed by a grand reception. This day will be culminating in a ceremonial state dinner, which will be hosted by US President Joe Biden and the First Lady Jill Biden. On that note, let me quickly bring in Lester, who's been very patiently awaiting his turn. Thank you, Lester, for staying on. As we were discussing, let's talk about the differences. Okay, and as we speak, I can also see Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S Jaishankar arriving amid chants of Bharat Mata Ki Jai. The euphoria and the excitement on the ground level is palpable, not just for the Indian Prime Minister, but as we can see India's Foreign Minister being greeted by the American delegation and Indian dignitaries present in Washington, D.C. at the airport. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S Jaishankar, flanked by a host of dignitaries over there. Lester, let's talk about the differences that may just arrive. What do you think will be the crucial challenges for India and the United States, especially when it comes to the difficult topics that will arrive on the table, and how are Biden and Modi likely to navigate those difficult topics?
Well, I think the issue that will be the most interesting discussion will be the issue of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And I'm sure President Biden is hoping that the Prime Minister will lean in a little bit more on the side of the Ukrainians on that issue. This seems to be a critical time in that conflict, with Ukraine moving to push out Russian invaders in a real counteroffensive that has begun in the last few days. So this is a critical time in Ukraine. I think President Biden is looking to expand and strengthen the alliance supporting Kyiv as much as possible. So I expect that to be a hot topic. I also expect there to be a lot of discussions in the high-tech sector, on supply chain, on things that on areas where the United States and India can cooperate in both government and in business to head off a lot of the risks that we see from companies and countries that are doing business with China.
Right. And when we're talking about China, all right, we're getting in some more visuals. Lester, we'll have to keep dipping into the live shots that are coming in. Prime Minister Modi being greeted by the Indian American community. Let's also listen in.
Vande Mataram! 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 Vande Mataram! 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 Vande Mataram! 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 Vande Mataram! Bharat Mata ki Jai! Bharat Mata ki Jai! Bharat Mata ki Jai! Bharat Mata ki Jai! Bharat Mata
So, latest shots of Prime Minister Modi at Washington, D.C., in fact, receiving a rousing welcome by the Indian American community. Heartwarming visuals of the Indian diaspora that has turned up in full force, as you can see. Not just women and men, but in fact, children from all age groups have turned up. And I can, in fact, see Prime Minister Modi also signing autographs on T-shirt of one of the children over there. And Lester, I'm sorry, I'll have to digress a bit because, you know, these are extremely heartwarming visuals that we can see. In Prime Minister Modi's popularity among the Indian diaspora has witnessed a meteoric rise in the last few years. In fact, ever since he took to power in the year 2014. What has been the kind of influence that he's wielding over the Indian American community, and taking that into, you know, when you talk about the Indian American community, how crucial is it when we talk about it as a voting bloc for successive governments that we've seen in the past and for the current Biden government as well?
Well, you know, of course, here in the United States, we're all part of one, except for a very few, part of some immigrant group or another. Indian Americans have prospered in this country, generally speaking, particularly recently, and we've seen a growing number and a growing influence from Indian Americans. I suspect I'm not Indian American, but I suspect they're very proud of their home country. They are proud of India's increased relevance in the world and of its openness and its embrace of democracy. And I think, you know, kind of go back to some of my earlier comments, the shared values between the United States and India are a real thing. People feel it here, particularly the Indian American community. So they're really the linchpin in a lot of ways of what the United States is about. Our foreign policy, our national security approach is democratic. It rests on the votes of Americans. Indian Americans play a big role in that. It's one it's a role that has been increasing lately, and I suspect will continue to do so.
Absolutely. And when